Uh, welcome back to the Gambling Dads podcast, where we gamble on life, we gamble on relationships. I don't know, we gamble on all kinds of stuff, I guess, ABL.
Yeah.
So we've been away for a little bit, but by popular demand, we are back. We're back. We back.
Well, when you're this amateur, you have to take breaks sometimes because life and careers get in the way.
Yeah, there's definitely been a little bit of a busyness going on in Mr. Beal's life for a little bit, but we are back, and I think we're going to try and continue to stay on the schedule of Mondays, ideally. So, set your
We'll try to get a couple. We'll try to get a couple extras out in there to make up.
Get your watch to Monday. Oh, I don't have a watch. All right, so now yeah, it's a phone. I think it was Elon Musk. Someone asked him about watches. And he said, "Yeah, I got a clock on my phone," which is exactly what I'm like. I got to watch the clock on my phone. I actually hate. I don't know if there's a word for it, but I got some weird phobia about having stuff around my wrists.
Oh, really?
I think maybe in another lifetime, like that just bothered me.
See, I love having just one watch on my left arm, but I haven't had it on for years. So you got to get one.
You go away and you get one of those bracelets around your wrist, and I'm the first one to peel it off as soon as I can because I hate them.
Oh, like if it's an all-inclusive or whatever?
Yeah. All right, so we got a couple. We got hot takes at the beginning of the epi. We kind of got organic segments now, which I like.
Except we do have to get away from the book this week just because I didn't get to read it.
Oh, okay. So then I was just gonna say Brad self-help corner. Well, okay.
This week, not today. Only not today.
This week,
well, I can give some. I don't mind giving some self-help. You know what? Instead of the book, I can let's do a little bit of self-help.
Okay, good.
But not book related. So let's keep that.
I have to do the jingle.
A little note.
I have to do the jingle.
Yes, do the jingle again.
Brad self-help corner. It's a work in progress.
Beautiful. Okay, so no, it's good like that. I'm good with giving some self-help because I'm so helpful.
That's all good. And I just think people like that segment. And then we got our little jobs area for me. Got some. I've got one that's funny because I know last time we talked and I talked about 3 that where I only worked one day. So I've kind of forgotten one that I don't even know if I consider work. We'll talk about it in the job list there. But so excited. Going into the hot corners or the hot takes, we're kind of weird because we touched on Rogan and the truckers, and it's just ballooned. Both of them have ballooned those subjects. It's like we picked the craziest subjects 2 weeks ago. And I don't want to touch too much on the truckers of like what's going on.
I don't want to touch on it at all, but you go say what you got to say.
Well, the only thing I want to say, a couple things, obviously got way out of hand. Like it seems cute when the truckers were going there, like, yeah, go truckers. And now it's like, hot tubs and all that is kind of a bit bonkers. But to me, what I don't like is Trudeau should have at least met with them and then said no. Like, I don't like that he went hiding into a corner, right? Like, so he would have been much more gangster or more proper if he would have met with them and said, look, no, I'm not going to succumb to your wants. That's fine. But to just hide in the corner and then, personally, I think they let it get out of hand and then it was out of hand. Like it's almost like when you have a party and you invite a certain amount of people and then you invite like a ridiculous amount of people and then all those people show up and you go, this party's out of control.
Like our grade 9, this girl Casey Copey threw a party and we're still talking about it 30 years later.
Yeah.
Because it got so out of, we're talking like couches off the veranda, like the upper deck veranda.
I feel like I might have been there. I was just checking. but it's funny because everyone's kind of been to a party like that, right?
Everybody
just gets out of control. And then the Rogan stuff, I don't know, he's gone through a whole bunch of ridiculous.
And I haven't paid attention to any of it. So I do know that he got offered a ton of money to leave Spotify and go somewhere else.
Rumble. I think it's called Rumble, which is like I don't know if it's a Twitter. I don't know.
Would they offer him 15 mil, 20 mil a year or something?
20 mil, I think. Like a similar offer to what Spotify offered him, apparently. But Spotify seems to have backed Rogan. and it's just people are kind of coming after him for the most recent is like, he said the N word a couple times on his podcast, and that's really come back to roost for him. And I must admit, listening to him at times, it's like sometimes he used it more abrasively than he should have, I would say. But then the funny thing is always, it's like years later, now you're judged on something. Like we could say something today that's totally normal, but 10 years down the road, people come back and watch this podcast because people are going to be watching this podcast. And say like Bill talked about whatever.
But I don't know if saying that was never normal, so you
Yeah,
can't
I
give
mean,
them
we say
a
we keep it
break on that.
pretty.
I don't even know
but
what would
I would say,
inspire
well,
him
you used to be able to
say
sing
that.
it. I would say you used to be able to sing in a song.
Not
don't think
us
so?
as Caucasian males. Are you kidding me?
You don't think back, you used to be able to sing it in a song? Anyways, well, we don't want to go down this road, do we?
Well, I certainly don't.
But
But my answer is
I know
no,
you
we never were able to, meaning
Ah.
you and I.
I would say in a song, when it was in a song, you used to be able to kind of wrap it up, but that changed, and I'm not saying it shouldn't have changed. It probably should have. Anyhow, let's move on from that. One thing I want to touch on, which is kind of really getting under my skin, is Christmas lights. People still have Christmas lights out.
You mean like the ones I have on my other wall that have been in every podcast?
That's kind of fine. Yours are more, I think those are up all year long, and it's like little lit things, right?
Yeah.
Some people have Christmas lights on the outside of their house, like lots of them. And it's
So, it's funny you're saying that, because I actually went to my buddy's house on Saturday for a movie night with the kids, and he has Christmas lights on his deck, and it's in the forest, and it's like kind of tucked away in the middle of nowhere, this big old wooden house. And actually, the first thing I said when I came in is, the outside of your house looks amazing with those lights on it. So I'm glad this is unscripted, because I actually loved how it looked.
Yeah, well, of course you'd be pro. Of course, that's why. But I mean, I have solar lights in my front, and I think those are fine. But the reason why, it's because we use so much energy in Canada, right? Per capita, we use more energy. We're gluttons for energy. I used to sell solar panels, and something that just
one of your other jobs.
Yeah, we're not talking about that yet. That's coming way down the road. And through that, though, through learning, I found out that Canadians use more per capita electricity than anyone in the world. So like just per person, we use more. And it stands to reason for some reasons. I mean, we've got weather and whatnot, and we are affluent. But when I start seeing Christmas lights in March, I get to be like, okay, this is gluttony for the energy that we can use. That's what bothers me. So it's my own,
because they're on always, right?
Yeah, I'm a bit neurotic about it, so it's kind of my own fault, I would say. But yeah, it just that kind of thing, it gets under my skin a little bit when it's March. So I don't. But I mean, if it's to light up the house, that's a different. To me, that's a bit of a different animal. But if it's Christmas lights,
you're right, and it's not like the energy we're using is cheap either, right? So people are spending money to have them on, right?
Yeah, it gets to be that, and it, if it's overnight, like some of them, I'm coming home at night at 3 a.m. from one of my other jobs, and one of my billion jobs, and there's people still with the Christmas lights on. I'm like, come on. Yeah, anyways, I guess it's just me, but
what an awful thing to have your Christmas lights on year round. You don't want to piss PS off.
Yeah, exactly. I might go around with a letter and tell them to stop. Anyways, I would never do that. I'm not the Karen of the Christmas lights. Maybe I will. Yeah, so now we got to go to Brad's self-help corner.
We're getting into it early.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just am doing this on the fly. I don't know if it's even self-help. It's more so I haven't read my book. I've just been super busy. So I just jotted a note down as you were putting as you put the theme song out there. I'm like, I should come up with something quick. Let me think. Is it really self-help? Is it was I jaded? I'm just trying to think of the proper terms here. Okay, anyways, are you playing with your hair?
What? Go ahead. Go on.
All right, the one
I'm
time I
listening.
get to speak, you have to upstage me.
What,
I
this
get
thing
it.
with this? Go on. I love it.
Okay, no, just
You'll see that later.
yesterday. Am I gonna get to speak here at all?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay, yesterday I'm writing notes as I go. Yesterday I got a text at 3:30. I'm writing this down here. 3:30. This isn't self-help. This is kind of like
Did you say 3:30 in the morning?
no, yesterday afternoon at 3:30, I get a message. So I was planning to hang out with this girl last night. Um, she messaged me at 3:30 p.m. yesterday and says, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And she's like, "Well, you kind of disappeared." Anyways, the point of the story is I got a text from her yesterday at like noon. So
Right.
12, 34, 15 hours before this. And it's are you still playing with your hair?
Hey,
Can I get through the story? Maybe
I'm
people want to hear my
sorry. Sorry, the
story.
flow is kind of, go ahead.
Anyways, I get a message at noon, yes, on Thursday. And it says, "Have a great day with the kiddos." Okay.
Mhm.
So I
Polite.
don't
Sounds
respond.
nice. That's
Pardon?
cute. That's
It's a
cute
nice
and place.
it's a nice text message, right?
Right.
So I don't respond to it. And then at 3:30 the next day, she asked me if I'm okay because she hasn't heard from me. Well, here's the thing. In the past short-term relationship I was in,
Mhm.
um, if the girl I was with sent that message, that would mean like she just doesn't want to talk to me anymore for the day. So I just wouldn't respond to it, right? But
Right.
this was just a conversation piece. So it shows how I'm kind of jaded because now I have, this new
Yeah.
person that I'm kind of talking to, and she's using it as like, have a great day with the kiddos. Like maybe update her on how my day is with the kiddos. Maybe
Yeah.
ask her about how her day is, right?
Message me later. Call me late at night, even. But the
Yeah,
last,
call her. Whatever. Even when I was on the way to going to see her last night, she actually said, "Do you want to talk?" and texted me her number, but with the link so I could just click on it and phone her because I'm so not used to the person I'm
warm.
with
Yeah.
actually wanting to talk or
Having
communicate.
some warmth, right? Like
Yeah, having a bit of warmth, right?
you
So,
had you had a kind of previous girl that you're with that was kind of cold and somewhat selfish, let's say. So then and she, when she didn't want to talk to you on the phone, she often didn't would let days go by without texting.
yeah, there'd be
Uh,
days without communication, which maybe is just a sign that we shouldn't have been together at all, right? Or she just wasn't interested, which is totally fine. But now I'm jaded from it because the person I was with before her was so warm and everything was so now I'm like, I gotta find a way to get back to how it's easy to
yeah,
just
no,
let
I
someone
know exactly.
it's like I'm almost not letting someone even like last night we had a great night. And what time is it now? 11:45. I haven't messaged her. Like, shouldn't I maybe message her to say
Probably,
like
and yeah, and like you got to be careful about that because that's what it's almost like you've been reprogrammed to not be warm. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Uh,
like now I've become someone that I'm not because I thought that I wasn't supposed to be the way that I
exactly.
was. But now, judging by that text message, it seems like that's maybe the more natural way to be. I
Yeah,
think in the end of the
100%
day,
it is.
just
I think 100% it is. Yeah, for one. And then, like as an example, almost similar to what you're saying, and a different kind of connotation, but like early on when Lisa and I were together, she would go get food and get herself well, let's say we got like Chinese food from a corner store or something,
yeah,
and she was picking it up. She'd then go get herself a drink and not get me one from like the store.
that's
Because
super odd.
it was really weird because it was just kind of the point of like, she'd been traveling and she wasn't used to being in a relationship. So I
Yeah,
don't think she was used to being like, oh, I should probably get something for the person that's there as well. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, for
Um,
sure. And
so
it only as the way I know Lisa, she's super warm. So that was just more, she just didn't know at the time,
yeah,
right?
for
Whereas
her, it
now,
was
like,
just didn't know how to be in a relationship really like that. Oh, I'm in a relationship now that like, oh, I shouldn't. I should probably getting a thing. Also, I probably shouldn't be flashing my butt at clubs anymore. Because it kind
well,
of
you know what was really weird?
overthink.
I had a friend whose parents owned a hotel back in the day, and myself and another buddy went over to his house or to the hotel to swim in the pool with him one day. and he went inside the hotel for a second and came out with a beer for himself and started drinking it and didn't offer us a beer or anything, which is super weird, isn't
Oh,
it?
that's unheard of now. I mean, especially now. That's I
Yeah.
would say that's come a long way though. Like I think earlier on, you would just go get a beer for yourself and that, but like now,
Really? When it's
well,
not your place though?
no,
Or
but I'm
when it is your place?
no, I'm more saying like, let's say we went to a bar and it was like college times or like just after college.
Yeah, you
You
just
would
buy
just go to
yourself a
your
drink.
the bar and get a beer for yourself, and
Yeah.
everyone would fend for themselves. Now you go and you get 10 beers for everyone that's in your crew, and then next time
Yeah.
you get 10 beers for everyone that's in the crew, and like
Yeah, like I couldn't imagine going out now, and if there's four of us out, not getting four drinks when I bought a drink. But you're
yeah,
right. Well, back then too, everyone was on different financial levels in terms of your college funds. Some people could only afford 2 drinks for the night. Some people could afford 6. And if you could
100%.
afford 6, you didn't want to buy 2 for someone else, so you were only getting 4 drinks, right?
That's it. The question becomes: was it always there? Like, were the older people still buying rounds for their friends, or is it something
Well,
that's come about?
I feel like the older guys were still buying for their friends.
Yeah,
And even now,
I think
if
it's
you go
something
out
that
with
happens, right? Once you get to like
a
25 or
certain age,
between
right?
25 and 30, let's say that you're more like buying for your crew, and then the next guy buys and whatever.
And I think now too, if you go out with like 5 guys and you know one of them's hurting a little financially, you never ask him to get in on a round. You just buy rounds and you
Oh,
always skip
100%.
him, right?
I've had, and you mean you were big like that, where it's like if we almost know when the other was not having great financial things, and you buy and
And you just pick up.
like
I've never kept
I could
track
never
of.
calculate what you like. I would have no idea.
Yeah, I would have no idea who's a. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
just the way it
and it wouldn't
is,
even.
right?
But we've had.
I would say you're a little ahead now just because of my
I
last
don't
two
even. We've
years,
had
but
good times, and that's what matters. So I don't care about
and you'd
that.
rather have the person out
100%. Yeah.
than have more money in your pocket and your buddy not be with you, right?
100%. And I know that someone's picked me up. So whether it's you or
Yeah.
someone else has, I never. We have some friends that are like, how much did you pay there, and
Yeah.
has to be to the dollar or whatever. And that's
Yeah.
just not the way. Yeah, not the way we roll for sure.
Which is pay it forward, right? You pay it forward.
Yeah.
Well, here's the funny thing. I years ago, I was in a relationship where the girl was noticeably younger than me. And I knew I had to get out of the relationship when once a group of us were going somewhere and they
I'm
were
not
all
too young,
divvying
right,
up.
Bill? Let's keep this PG. Yeah.
No, in her 20s. Come on,
Okay.
let's not talk.
Okay. Well, no,
But anyways,
you said
it's like you're trying to get controversial. This is
no, I'm
crazy.
trying to stay out of controversial as we did.
No, but the point of the story is
I'm
I
trying
knew
to
I had to get
steer
out.
this ship away from controversy.
Well, saying someone's younger than you doesn't mean saying they're a minor. That's a crazy
Not
assumption.
after we clarify it. It doesn't.
Anyways, I knew I had to get out of the relationship when we were all going to drive somewhere, and we got there and they were all collecting like $4 each for gas money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were collecting $4. And then the funny thing in that relationship too was the person I was with was always asking why I wanted to go hang out at her parents' house. And I'm like, because they're my peers.
Yeah. No, I know.
Because they were only 8 years older or something like that. So
that's good. I'm glad we clarified that part.
so I don't think there was really any self-help there, but maybe just
No, that was
I
good.
think at the end of the day,
Self-help doesn't have to always be the book, buddy.
no, and at the
Don't
end of the day,
confine yourself to a book, man.
but I want to get into the book.
No, I know. We could do that. We could do that next week when we also talk about why this podcast is about what's the show? Why am I blanking on what our show
Oh,
is?
golf marshals?
Golf marshals. Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't know we had a song.
I'll quickly talk about that for golf marshals. It's like my idea of like the screen, like the music would be like a Chips thing, like golf marshal, and we're like action, and we're like going over on a like golf cart and stuff, and like
like a golf cart, right, roughly driving over the course, like
really like
bumping
action, like it's super actiony, but like what
maybe
it was,
you and Macarady get out of the golf cart to go run to a scene, and then that's where the episode starts.
Exactly, all stuff like that, right? And like like almost like Chips or like some of those action shows of the past, Remington Steel and stuff like that, where they had those. Did I just say
you really pulled out some doozies? I don't even remember these shows really.
You know,
At
shits.
Remington Steel?
I know. I literally don't even know where that.
Were we weren't even kids for Remington Steel, were
I
we?
mean, just the. I don't know, but I'm gonna watch an episode tonight.
Just to
Oh,
see it.
you know what I wanted to bring up, but yeah, I'll bring it up now. The Drags of Humanity that we watched that one time. Remember with Jason Bateman? Now that we're talking
It
about
was
old
a
shows?
2-part episode too. What was
Yeah,
the
we're
name of
gonna
the
have that. We're
show?
gonna try and find the link and put it below. It was
What
like
was the name of the show again?
jeez, I know Jason Bateman's in it.
Here, let me pull it up. I'm gonna pull it up right here.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
Yeah, Jason Bateman's in it. Yeah, well, not only take a look at the shirt. Sorry, folks, Sparks closed. No self-function told you. Anyhow,
I feel like I ended up watching the whole first season of that series. Just a sec.
yeah, it's not called Darker Times. It's something. Geez, I can't believe I can't remember the name.
The show's called It's Your Move.
It's Your Move. Yeah, it's your
And the
move.
guy who was Steve from Married with Children
Yeah,
was the mom's boyfriend in it, and he got no respect. He was a writer for
a
he
newspaper.
was a music writer, an entertainment writer for a newspaper.
That's
wasn't he?
right. Yeah, I think so. But so
And he was always
somehow,
trying to get in with.
So the
He was
funny
always
thing is,
trying to get in with Rolling Stone.
yeah, the funny thing is, you and I talked about it one time, and then we ended up finding the Drags of Humanity actual episode, and
2
both-
parts.
2-part episode. That was a cliffhanger, and both of us ended up watching. Remember that guy, the bigger fat guy that had to do all the work? That was like
He did all the work and he got no hype
no hype.
because it was Bateman and that guy, right? And he
Yeah.
controlled all the puppets. All Bateman did was promote the show.
Yeah, which is almost like a hilarious joke in itself when you go back and look at it and be like, this guy did all the work and Bateman did none of the work, but Bateman was like making it seem like he was the one that was in the mix. Really,
Was it
the-
because Bateman wanted to get with a girl? I feel
no, it
there's
was
some holes
something
in
to
this.
do with like
I feel like he
concert
started the
tickets.
band.
it was like to get concert tickets or something.
But wasn't it for? I feel like there was a love interest. In
Yeah,
this.
I'm sure there was some girl stuff in there, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to rewatch the epi.
I know, and it's Drags, Dregs.
Drags of
For
Humanity,
people who look it up.
which I also like. Well, we're gonna put it down below.
Dude, I feel like I think all of season 1 was it only 1 season?
I got no idea.
But I feel like I watched every episode
Oh
after
yeah,
we
at the
watched
time.
that.
Yeah. that
But I
was
know
good.
I said I was going to watch 10 minutes and watch the rest later, and I watched both parts right in one sitting because it
Yeah.
was so good.
It was so good.
And Bateman always had that shit-eating grin on his face, like he
That's-
couldn't quite wipe it off that he wasn't supposed to have on. Like when he was
100%. He
getting in
always has
trouble.
that still.
Yeah.
Horrible bosses. It's and hey, people used to say I don't look like him anymore. That's for sure. When I lose some weight, people tell me I look like Jason Bateman. When I have weight on, I look like the guy from Bare Naked Ladies or Drew Carey.
Like you don't with the beard, but when you have your glasses on, you do resemble Drew Carey sometimes.
Yeah.
But what guy from the Bare Naked Ladies?
So there's only one. that
There's
looks
2
like
of them, and I don't know which is which.
One of them looks like
I know
Drew
who you
Carey.
mean. I think. Pardon?
The one that looks like Drew Carey.
Wasn't there a Robin Ventura comparison back in the day?
Oh, there was. I never got that one. I've tried to figure that one out. Some
What
people
to get
said
you
Woody,
at different ages?
Woody
and the
Harrelson
trick-
at some point. I used to get straight.
Who?
Woody Harrelson.
Interesting. We
Yeah.
should find you at different ages when you look like those people. and
Oh,
do a
I could
comparable
get a
picture.
Bateman one where I looked pretty like Bateman at the early stages. But anyways, we'll figure that out.
And now you look like a big grizzly bear.
Just a big bear, big section bear. I'll go that. We got to do that story another time.
Yeah.
Well, going into one of the stories I just wanted to talk about is like, remember the one where we're back at our old pad where you lived below me, and I was going to that pizza porn party or the porn party.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
we're
that
going,
was
we're going to this party that was designated a porn party, so you had to show up as a porn star or whatever. I would tell you tell
Didn't
people
you
what
draw names
no
of who you had to be?
no the person who like one of Lisa's friends actually requested that Lisa go as one because apparently she looks like this German porn star that was
Yeah. So she went as that character, right?
which I haven't done my research on that even.
And you went as the pizza delivery guy, which is hilarious.
That's the funny thing, right? So I went as a pizza delivery guy, so it wasn't a specific person, but like, there's always a pizza.
It was a very generic.
And that's the other funny thing is Beal always give me grief because what I did is I had a pizza box that opened, and then I got this plastic peni and that I had in there, and he keeps ratting me or giving me grief because it was like a tiny plastic penis.
And you said it had to be discreet.
Well, that or more like I'm going into one of these porno stores, which I'm not like accustomed to going into, and
You mean adult stores?
yeah,
You call
is
it
that what they're called? Well, I guess they're called that now. I guess that's what they're always called, adult
Yeah.
store. And I think this proves that I don't go into them that often, which is good. So I went in there and it was like it's awkward. So you're like, oh, yes, can I get a plastic penis? Like you get the first one that you see that's cheapest and get out. You don't go like,
Yeah, you
oh,
get
I'll
in and
take,
get out.
I'll
I
take the
get
big
it.
black one in the corner, please, or whatever, right? To scale, I don't know, whatever.
I get it.
Yes, good. Let me pull mine out. You tell me exactly what size it is compared to what. Anyways, I've gone too far. All right. Do you have another topic? Do you want me to go to jobs lists?
Yeah, go jobs. I mean, yeah, you go. I was pretty unprepared, but I do have some stuff jotted down. So
Okay, so jobs. Okay, so jobs. When I last left you, we were talking about how I had some jobs that were just 1 day jobs. Um, I'm more going to get into the ownership. So I did end up buying an internet cafe laundromat at some point while I was still working with you.
right when right pretty
Go
much days before internet cafes were blasé.
Pretty much. I had a good 5 months. Like when we bought it, internet cafe, it was like packed. There was kids.
Like people probably just before you go on, people probably listening right now are like, there were internet cafes. Like that's outrageous.
In Hamilton. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But when I bought it, there was 20 kids in there per night playing there. It was more like
It
an
was
arcade.
banging.
And it was banging, and then it just started to die down, and then people were able to buy computers at their home, or because it used to be like $1,000 and people couldn't afford them or whatever, and then the
Yeah,
price came down.
students.
So then we turned the internet cafe portion into a health food store. I bought a health food store around the corner, all of its parts, and brought it into where the internet cafe was, and. And then that's when the economy hit bad. So people aren't
Yeah.
buying like vitamin D or C so much when they can't afford to put food on the table. So that really rooked me that way.
So you went from one not great idea to another, really.
Well, yeah, or
Even the laundromats aren't
or I
bad
would say,
anymore.
yeah, laundromats aren't around anymore, but there's some, but they were good at the time. And even laundromat was what I wanted to begin with. I didn't want the other stuff. But it was tied together. And at the time, the internet cafe seemed so good, and it was profitable for a period of time. And then the internet cafe went boom, and then the health food store went boom. And that's almost like a story of a lot of my jobs too, because we went newspaper business, boom, solar industry, boom.
Boom. Yeah.
That's
A
kind
lot
of why
of
I went into
dips.
life insurance, because life insurance can't die out. It's impossible. And the company
Die being the key word. Now, here's my thing though. In retrospect, in buying a business, I feel like you spent a lot for the name. Wouldn't that be a bad move now?
it depends on what the name is, but
Because you weren't in on the building. You know what I mean?
no, but it was the machinery of the laundromat that was so expensive. That's what it was
Yeah.
the cost. Which
Did
would
you end
be
up selling stuff off, or what'd you end up doing?
Yeah, it got dark because then we moved we got rid of the internet cafe, or sorry, the health food store portion, and I subletted that space out. So I would still just be the laundromat, and then people started stealing in the laundromat, even though I had cameras, and it just got ugly.
Well, I
Ugly,
feel like
ugly.
laundromats are like internet cafes in terms of the equipment gets outdated. Like the computers it's like in an internet cafe, even when they were in their heyday, you were pretty much having to update everything every year.
2 years,
keep
something
up
like
with the
that. Yeah,
times,
3
right?
years, I would say, for a computer. But yeah, no, laundromats, you can get a good 10, 12, 15 years out of the.
But if they don't look sharp, I find it veers people away from going to a laundromat. Like if you go in and it's
Depends on
all
where,
yellow
like, hey,
laundry machine,
we did well. The laundromat, I would say, could have kept going, and it was in
survive.
the master area, right? So it was a good spot for it, and like,
Yeah. And a lot of those houses in there maybe didn't have laundry. You're right.
and we had the late night hours. We actually ended up having the PGA Tour when they were in Hamilton. We were listed on their website to be the laundromat of choice for them. And the Olympics, when the Olympics came through, we did the laundry of the Olympic torch people. So it's kind of funny.
Except you lost money on it because didn't you end up like volunteering to do it?
Well, yeah, you don't lose money if you're volunteering. That's what it was. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was for the Olympics, bud. Which, by the way, well, we'll get into a little bit later. What we're thinking about that. So then the other one that was a bonus for that last one we were talking about, where we were talking about how I work these jobs at one day. I worked at this place, and it was a fire. I don't even know if you know that I did this. It was a fire alarm place, right?
I did not know this. I'm
Yes,
interested.
this is hilarious. So it was like a pretty interactive fire detector setup with monoxide, carbon monoxide.
Yeah.
And it was like they were smart fire detectors, right? So, but the funny thing was,
Just like, let me guess, are you going door to door?
no, they actually had a pretty amazing system on how they got leads, and that's what I'm going to get into a bit too.
Okay.
But the crazy thing was, like, they hired you, whatever, and you had to go for orientation, right? And
Yeah.
then they tell you what it's all about, where you're gonna have to go in and do like a presentation in someone's home about fire, basically. Which it did quickly go like, this is a bit dark, because you got to kind of play on their emotions of like going into your house and going like, shouldn't you want to have fire detectors, Beal, so that your house doesn't burn down with Talia and Emmett in it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
playing on your, so it just, and I don't, it took me a little bit longer to clue into that, I guess. But like day one, there's like 30 people. Day two, there was like 15 people. Day three, there was like 3 people left, something like that. Like everyone just left after like a day or two of training,
Like,
because
okay, gotcha. So
Because-
before you even got out in the field.
yeah, before I even got out in the field, people were just hightailing it out of there, right?
And you were sticking around during all this?
I stuck around to the end of the week, and it was kind of funny because you could just see people, and you start to realize why, and then yeah, you had to go through this booklet and tell people, basically prey on their emotions to be like, well, what I just said with you, basically, where you have to, you better get this or your kids are gonna die, basically, and you had to show like a video of someone who is bawling their eyes out because they lost their kid in a fire.
Like you were going to show that video in the house meeting with the family.
Correct.
You didn't get to that point, did you?
No, well, so at the beginning stages, they had a way of like, the way they paid you for the week that you just trained is at the end of the week, you had to get appointments with your friends or family and like practice with your friends and family. And for every friends and family that you did the presentation to, they got $20 or something like that. So you had to get, so I had like whatever 10 or 15 people that said they would do it, but it was like I didn't plan that I was actually going to sell to them. It was just like learning how to do it properly, right?
Like
Practicing, exactly. So I had a list of people that I was going to do it at their house. Then it turns out I started doing it with Lisa. And at the end, this lady wants you to call to like say, how did it go? Like, I guess she needed proof that you were doing it, right?
Yeah.
Which made sense. But then she starts going into like a hard sale on us.
So she's trying to sell you guys on.
Yeah. And like,
so basically what she's trying to do is get 15 to 20 people of your contacts, and then she's trying to sell to your contacts.
Exactly. Yeah. And she wants to get you just off the ground a bit too. But yeah, that was exactly, and she was going hard at the guilt of that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, like, don't you think Quaid should, all the stuff? Like, are you kidding me? Like, we got off the phone with her, and she was like, not believing of the time. Like, I went through the presentation legitimately with her, because you had to say when you were going to start, call her when you said, or text her when you said you're going to start, and call her at the end, whatever you had to do. And she started going in like, did you go through everything or whatever? Like, yeah, I went through everything with Lisa. If anything, we did a little bit like I did it a part of it twice because I went over it again. Anyways, it
It's a
just started
dirt.
to get to like there's no way.
It's a
Not,
dirty little scene.
yeah, not only is it bad enough that you're doing this, now you're going to micromanage me on my first presentation that I did with my wife. It's like, okay, this is there's no chance. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I brought the stuff back, but I can't even fathom her working for this, where she has to hire all these people, and by the end of the week, she maybe has one person out of the 30 or 40 people that they.
And their strategy is probably if you get one or two and they have 15 people, and then you close 4 of those, then they're up for it, right?
And that was one of the cool things that I must admit they had, but this is going to be a cautionary tale for anyone out there that sees this. They had this thing where it would be free for Lisa if she posted on her Facebook that you get this free medical um, first aid kit. So you get this nice first aid kit that if you get it for free, if you post on your social media with a link that says, hey, if you want this kit, click here. So that's how they get people, right? So then Lisa puts it up there and all of her friends can just click on it, going like, I want it. And that means someone has to come to your house and do the presentation.
Yeah.
But you get the kit.
I don't like all these dirty little sales.
It was pretty dirty. It was, yeah. And that's, I mean, that's, so that one, I wouldn't even say I lasted a day because I didn't, I did orientation.
And you know what? All these people that drop off, so they don't get paid. So what's it to them to try to get, they can just keep going through this week by week, trying to get people on, right?
Yeah, but how exhausting would that be to always be training people that are never going to follow through and maybe get one, like, I can't even imagine. And because they're doing all these interviews and like, it just, your time's worth something at some point as well, right? Like the cost for a company, and you'd have to look it up, but I think it's like their salary and a half. So like your company could give you a $2,000 raise every year for the next 10 years or something like that. And it would still be less than replacing you with somebody else. Because it takes at least your salary and a half to get to the person being competent. And that's maybe not even as good as you are at the job, just competent. That's somewhere along the lines of that. So like your salary and a half, but these companies still will get rid of people quite quickly, which they don't understand that it costs so much to actually replace a person. Some do.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
For what? That segment or everything in general?
I mean, touch on the Olympics a bit if you like, but that's all.
Well, no, I can talk. I went horseback riding a few weeks ago for my niece Huxley's 17th birthday, which is crazy. She's 17. So myself, Tals, and Emmett went with my sister and her 2 kids. No, it was just kind of funny. So our horses' names, I wrote them down because my memory is weak. Talia's horse's name was Smokin'. Mine was Sienna.
Yeah,
I loved Emmett's Runabout. But anyways, so we went out. So Emmett was.
What were these thoroughbreds that they just pulled off the thing to put back in there?
Yeah, no, way you go. It was actually this beautiful snowy day. But at first, Emmett's the only one that had someone walking with him. And so we all agreed that we would go slow so that we didn't get separated. But at first, he was at the back, which I was nervous about.
Oh, yeah. And quickly, I'll touch on that because I had the exact same scenario with my brother guiding me. And I fell off when I was young. And I was probably Emmett's age or maybe a little bit older. And I fell off the horse like 6 to 10 times. And I hate horses now. I hate them.
That's crazy. You were falling off. So anyways, Emmett had someone with him, was at the back. So obviously there were a couple tiers. So they moved him between Tals and I. I was in front of him, then Talia. So I could hear his conversation, but I couldn't really be a part of it. But it was super funny. He had some young guy walking with him. When I say young, I mean probably a teenager.
Right.
And so they started talking about some stuff. So I could kind of hear what was going on. But then I heard them talking Star Wars. So the poor young guy probably wouldn't have the knowledge of Star Wars like Emmett, right?
Based like Emmett.
Yeah, so he asked Emmett who his favorite was. So Emmett said Darth Vader. But then the guy made the mistake of saying that Darth Vader was a bad guy. For the next 15 minutes was just Emmett going off about how Darth Vader, although he is a bad guy, he isn't a bad guy. And
A
this guy,
bad guy in your mind.
yeah, yeah, but there wouldn't be any back and forth because the guy would really have no background. Right? So, anyways, it all started was because I heard them talking before they were talking Star Wars,
Right.
and I just yelled back to Emmett, "This is like Luke and Han and Empire Strikes Back," because we were going through the snow with the
Right.
horses. So that's where it all started.
And then
and
the
the
kid
guy-
said, "Oh, you like Star Wars?" And then
yeah, and
he
thinking
got
that it would
himself
just
in the rabbit
be
hole.
done it. Yeah. But at the same time, and then after that, I heard Emmett asking the guy like what his favorite colors were and stuff. So he started making conversations. So it
Nice.
made for a really good experience for him. But then one of the the main guide, who was, it's crazy, she's only like 15, but she was like she's worked there half her life, like she's worked there since she was like 7 or something like that. But so there's 3 parts of the field, there's 3 different fields where the horses hang out, and I guess my horse Sienna was like ran her field, like she was the leader, you know what I mean, the
Yeah.
queen, let's say. Well, she didn't like my guide's horse, but my guide kind of took a shining to me because, funny enough, we got talking, and as I work part-time when I don't have the kids at night, just to make some extra scratch, it finds out a kid that works where I work, she hangs out with, or had
Oh,
like
wow.
a relationship. So
Small
we
world.
talked enough that I found out she had a relationship with this kid that I used to work with. So she would come over to talk, but my horse didn't like her horse. It didn't want to messing around. So she could only get like, it's
Territorial.
crazy how territorial it would get. Anytime she would get close to me with her horse, my horse would literally put its head down and snarl. And
So
her
I was
horse
right
would-
about the horses.
Pardon?
So I was right about the horses. They're
What about
horrible
them?
thing. They're horrible animals.
Well, I mean, the mean ones are mean, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And her horse was willing to come up, but my horse was having nothing to do with it. So,
Yeah.
anyways, I just thought it was funny. I couldn't even converse with this kid because my horse wouldn't allow it to happen.
Because of horse wars.
Yeah, horse wars.
Horse
There you go.
wars.
So, anyways, a good story. It was just funny that
Instead of Star
Emmett
Wars,
opened right
horse
up and-
wars.
what'd you say?
I said instead of Star Wars, horse wars.
Horse wars. There you go. So,
But I
no, it was
also
pretty-
love the like Emmett getting onto the Star Wars. Like it's something I always recall is like just find a topic with somebody that you both can use, and then the relationship gets much further down the road, right? Like when you have small
Yeah.
talk with someone and they don't want to, and I've had this before where you're talking to a guy that you don't know and it's a friend of a friend or something, and you start talking about sports because that's easiest for me. And then if the guy's not into sports, then I go to music typically because most of the guys that aren't into sports are into music. And if they're not, then you gotta find like TV shows or something, right? But like,
Yeah, and stay away from the stuff like politics and stuff like that, because that can just cause an instant divide, right? It's funny you mentioned music. I find in relationships now, after all these years, I find that if you don't have the same musical interests as the person you're with, I think it can cause a bit of a divide in a relationship.
yeah, I don't know.
'Cause I love sharing music or listening to music or going out dancing. And I find if you have completely different tastes, it's not going to be a deal breaker per se, but it can
I can
definitely.
see that. Yeah, but I'm not in that world, but I could see how that could happen. Yeah, so then basically you just talk about how pretty pathetic the Olympics were in the way of like, I mean, I didn't even hear some of the stuff like the men's tournament started. And I don't even think I knew it was happening. I thought
I didn't watch 1 second of the Olympics this
I
year.
watched a bit of the women's gold medal game, and that was about it.
I just think with the stuff going on with Shui Pang, I think that the whole world should have boycotted the Olympics for that.
or COVID, but both. Yeah, I definitely
like,
don't think
I
it should have been in China. And then when it was in China, it was very difficult to kind of. I mean, I know my mom watched a lot of it. My mom and brother are big into the Olympics. My brother's been to the Vancouver one, so yeah, and I like them. It's just these are the least amount I've ever watched.
And I think too, for the athletes, I mean, like to them, it's a big deal. So we shouldn't say like, shame on them for going, because you trained for so many years to get
That
there.
is the
So,
trouble. But they could have
so I-
moved it to another location.
yeah, but how do you just in the blink of an eye say, okay, we're doing it all over here? You
Well,
know
no,
what
but
I
it
mean?
was supposed to be last year. Like, so when it was supposed to be last year, and when it
That's right.
didn't happen, then they could have said, okay, well, they couldn't because they build the stadiums. You're right. They
Yeah.
would have had to go to a place that had it before.
Oh, I have a
Going
story.
back to Calgary. Anyways, go.
I have a story not related. I just thought maybe I'll share a story every so often. So why don't I share a story?
Do it.
Okay, so I thought I have this story.
Good.
So I always thought if I was in a rock band, which I have no musical talent whatsoever, the
Dregs
name
of
of my
Humanity.
rock band. Pardon?
Dregs of
What'd you say?
Humanity.
Well, I can't take that name. It's been used. So I thought a cool name for a band would be Steve Schellenbacher Saved My Life. And there's a
What?
story about
I don't
there's a
know who that
story
is.
behind it.
Okay. Who's that?
When I was pardon?
Is that just a person, or is it someone I
It's a
should know?
person. I'm gonna tell a story about the person.
But is it
When
a
I was a
someone-
kid-
Wait 1 second though. Is that a person I should know at this moment?
No one should
Okay.
know him except for
Okay.
me.
That's
Yeah.
it.
And shout out to Steve Schellenbacher, who I haven't seen.
Shout out Schellenbacher.
I haven't seen since this incident when I was in grade 3, probably. So I haven't seen him since grade 6 at the most. Anyways, so my best friend growing up, Rennie, who's still one of my closest friends. Shout out to Rennie Delafreniere.
Really?
His next door neighbor, this lady lived next door and she had grandkids, Steve Schellenbacher, and he had a younger brother whose name I can't recall. So I was at Rennie's enough that we were so close to her grandkids that we would go to their birthday parties and everything.
Right.
Because they visited enough and I was always with Rennie, so we would see them. Anyways, one winter, there was a school, a Mac school, where we always played road hockey and stuff. And the last 3 of us left were him, myself, and this other kid. I'm not going to name him just because he's passed away and he was a bully and it just doesn't make any sense to name him. You know, I don't.
I was about to say a joke about that, so I'm glad you prefaced that.
Yeah. So anyways, he was a bully. He was in my grade, but he was a year older. So this is kind of a bullying story about what goes on. Anyways, we were done playing. This kid and I lived across the street from each other, so we were going to go our way and Schellenbacher was going to go the other way. Schellenbacher had already left. He was pretty much off the school property. And something happened with this kid, and he literally jumped on me in the snow and put me face down and was suffocating me. And when I say suffocating me, I think people don't take the story serious because I was like a kid, so I don't think they realize it. I still remember it to this day. Like I literally couldn't breathe. He was putting my face. He's putting my face in the snow, and like he wasn't letting me come up for air. And he was noticeably bigger and stronger than me. And I was doing everything, literally fighting for my life. And Schellenbacher was carrying a hockey net with sticks on it. And for some reason, I don't know why, like he couldn't have hurt us. He just turned around and sprinted and pulled this kid off me. But I'm not even joking. Like people didn't realize the severity of it because as a young kid, you maybe can't play it up. But I'm talking about it now. I was done if this kid didn't pull this guy off. If Steve Schellenbacher might not even realize what he did, you know, to help me. But I was done. If this, like I literally, I can remember just having no air left in me. Is that wild?
Like, is that like your nearest near-death experience, you think?
No, I have one more. And if you have one, you can tell it too, but I'll tell mine quickly. Yeah. I had a piece of steak lodged in my throat, and I was in a kitchen by myself. Everyone was outside and no one knew. And I literally took what I thought was my last breath. I'd given up trying to get it down or up. And then last second, I threw myself at a sink and hit myself here. And I threw up and it came up. But I've never known that feeling where my windpipe was completely closed. It was bananas. Like I couldn't even believe it. So now I eat steak all the time now, obviously 7 out of 14 days, but I'm super careful when I eat.
And I still don't go on horses though.
What's your story?
So mine, and I'll shout out some of my boys. We used to go to this quarry, and we'd just jump off, and it was a pretty big drop off, right? And, yeah. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know what this kind of quarry was. It was almost like a man-made thing that shouldn't have been there. I have no idea. Thinking back on how to even describe it, it was literally like a cliff and water at the bottom, but it seemed like it was man-made by tractors, let's say. But so I had all my friends there, like Darren Purnell. I'll do my shootouts. Darren Purnell, Todd Laidman, Eddie Ward, Jay Johnny,
I love these
Craig
names.
Agnew. Yeah, I know they sounded made up. Huh? Daryl Whiteside, all of my high school buddies, Tom Payne, they were all probably
Tom Payne. These
a
are
good
good
Tom
names.
Payne.
J. Johnny, Tom Payne.
Yeah, I know Dave Scott. I mean, there's a bunch of a white male. Anyways, brutal names, I guess. But the one I remember is Glenn Langervines, because he was at the top with me. So what happened was, what had happened was there was a big cliff, like a huge cliff, and at the
Yeah.
top you could run and jump off of it, right? Well, I ran and fell, stumbled, and
Yeah.
I was a more healthy person than I am now. So it was it's not as unique to say that I would have fallen because I was pretty athletic at the
Yeah.
time, but
Nimble.
I was nimble at the time. Nimble, I tell you, Jerry. But I fell off the edge. I was falling off the edge,
Yeah.
and Glenn was like, that's why I remember, because Glenn was kind of just above me, kind of trying to come and get me. And I was like, oh, and I fell. So
Yeah.
imagine like it's rocks like
Like
coming.
you fell before you got to the edge. Then?
Now I got to the edge and fell
Yeah.
over the edge, but like so close to where the rocks were, right? So
Yeah.
imagine the rocks are at the thing jetting out, and at the
Yeah.
bottom.
You would have hit rocks all the way down, right?
Well, I was close, like my face. Yeah, I think it did.
I mean, if your buddy wasn't there.
No, I did hit, like I fell. My buddy was there, never got to me. And,
Oh,
like, I
okay.
fell.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a lot. Well, it could have been the last thing I saw, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's I almost still have as a memory because I saw him and fell, and then it's like I thought when I got to the bottom, the rocks would jet out into the water, and I'd just be dead. You know what I mean? Because
Oh, yeah. But they didn't jut out. Like that's what's like. Luckily
they didn't jet out, and luckily, like I scraped along the sides, and like, yeah, I didn't land in a perfect like flat way, but yeah,
but you got in there.
Yeah, and like I think
That's
most of
crazy.
my friends thought I could have been dead.
Now, when you get to the water and you get out, are you thinking that was scary? Or are you thinking, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
awesome?
Oh yeah, no,
Like you were
everyone-
like,
no, we
like,
all
would you
left.
see-
We left right after. It was
yeah, that was it.
yeah, and I never went back. I don't even know.
So
I don't
you
know
don't
if
do
any of us went
horses,
back.
you don't do cliff diving.
Yeah, not anymore. And yeah, actually, that's true because like I went whitewater rafting and they had us where we jumped off this rock, and I did it, I think, but I didn't like it.
Yeah. Oh, I have another thing. Okay, so Steve Schellenbacher saved my life. Do you think that's a good alternative band name?
Yeah, sure.
I got a second one.
Fantastic. Doesn't
Why'd
much
you roll
matter.
your eyes?
You're never going to
Victoria-
be in one of those.
Victoria Azarenka broke my heart. Do you know who Victoria Azarenka is?
No.
How do you not know? She used to be the #1 tennis player in the world, but she's a single mom and she loves dancing. Her and her kids always like posting videos dancing on social media or whatever. So anyways, a couple years ago, I DM'd her and she never responded to me. So that's another band name. Victoria Azarenka broke my heart, and I'll never DM anyone ever again because of that.
I'll believe that when I see it.
But that's a good band name, no?
Hey, I think I actually remember how we talked about having an ending, but then I'd have to wear this every day. It's like maybe I do have an ending. Sorry, folks. Parks closed. Moose up front from Poltra, and I just go up to the front. Yeah, maybe not.
That's a good ending.
It'd be pretty
So
funny.
are you saying that we're at the end of the show?
We're at the end of the show. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry, folks. Sorry, folks. Yeah, I just did like this.
That's perfect.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next time. Hopefully, be right on Monday. Wishing
Yeah.
you a well.
I'd like to sneak another one in before, but we'll see.
We shall see. Peace.
Okay. Good to see you.